Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Christopher Bishop. I'm a TEDx speaker, a LinkedIn Learning instructor, and former IBMer. Delighted to be speaking with you today at the Future of AI conference. So, welcome. I'm passionate about the power of emerging technology to positively influence business and culture. So, let's jump in. I want to share with you a historical perspective. I think when talking about the future, it's always good to think about the past. Share with you a little bit of the current state of AI, some perspective from executives, give you some ideas about how companies large and small are using AI, both multinationals and startups, what that landscape looks like. Then talk to you about some real world use cases, how companies and organizations are actually using artificial intelligence across a range of disciplines and verticals. And then close with some perspective on what I think is next. And certainly the topic of quantum and AI is top of mind. So let's begin by taking a look at this picture. This is from 1956, the summer of 1956 at Dartmouth, when a professor named John McCarthy led a consortium, a meeting of like minded academics, to talk about the power of machines to replicate the human brain. So he's the one who coined the term artificial intelligence back in 1956. So here we are today, where Andrew Ng, who I describe as the Elvis Presley of artificial intelligence, he's the former chief scientist at Baidu and a co-founder of Coursera. He describes AI as the next electricity, right? The way electricity influenced business and culture over the last 100 years, AI is going to have a similar kind of transformational effect across every business. And I agree. I think he's exactly right. Here's a perspective from a senior executive. This is the gentleman who runs eBay, Devin Wenig, and he says, if you don't have an AI strategy, you're going to die in the world that's coming. Again, the idea that AI is a powerful tool that's applicable across all kinds of business sectors and verticals and industries as well as disciplines. So the thing to keep in mind is that AI is a constellation, right? It's not one thing. It ranges from things like Siri and Google Home, Google Assistant, right, to IBM Watson, which is basically a room full of Power 7 servers sitting in a refrigerated compartment in the basement of Yorktown Heights, IBM's research center. IBM's AI machine, Watson, as you probably remember, crushed the Jeopardy grand champion several years ago with remarkable power to answer those questions quickly and accurately. Lots of big companies, certainly tech giants, are investing in AI. Here's just a sampling, right? Apple is doing it, Microsoft, Facebook, IBM, certainly, as I mentioned. Salesforce has a tool to help sales teams capture and manage data using AI. And Google, for sure, they have a practice area, which I'll talk about in a little more detail later on. This is a view from a company called CB Insights, a research firm. It's their AI 100 list. So it shows companies that are emerging, startups in the AI space across, again, a range of disciplines. So across the top, you have verticals like healthcare, finance and insurance, transportation, construction, retail. And then along the bottom, you have sort of process specific. So natural language processing, sales and CRM, cybersecurity certainly is a big focus for applying AI, of DevOps and model monitoring, process management. So this is the range, right? There's lots and lots of companies, and this is just a sampling, just a picture that they put together. I highly recommend CB Insights, by the way, terrific research company. Top verticals, I mean, it's generally conceded that these are the areas where AI and machine learning are going to have an impact initially to a large degree. So financial services, again, because machines can manage portfolio data and perform optimization processes as well or better or in conjunction with real humans. Healthcare, they've determined that AI instances can already read scans and test results more accurately than trained physicians. So again, working in adjunct with doctors, these are helpers, not replacements. They can analyze the myriad of journals that are published every week. Some number like 1,200 periodicals related to any specific medical area are published every week. There's no way a working doctor can read and capture and analyze and rationalize that kind of data. And managing back-end processes, billing and discovering test results and reporting them. So retail, tracking inventory and managing supply chain across the whole breadth of processes tied to retail. And manufacturing, GE already has the industrial Internet of Things where they're using sensors on the product manufacturing line to detect flaws and stop the line and suggest changes or improvements. It's going to impact how vehicles are manufactured and a range of other manufacturing related activities. Let me give you an example here. So Google obviously has many server farms, data centers, right? It costs a lot of money to run. They use a lot of electricity, a lot of power to both heat and cool them. So they're using AI and they've purportedly saved 40% in energy costs, which in terms of dollars and cents represents hundreds of millions of dollars in the long term in savings and obviously improved efficiency as well. This is one of my favorite companies called Narrative Science. It's led by a professor at Northwestern University in Chicago. They've created an AI instance that turns data like spreadsheets into prose, into text, into readable, shareable content with a much broader use and availability than just a bunch of spreadsheets, right? This is a quote from a managing director at Deloitte who says that narrative science lets us more efficiently sift through large amounts of data and bring out insights more quickly. Here's an example. So I put together a document that looks like this, sort of like include tags on a website, right? It's pulling data from a spreadsheet and generates a piece of content that looks like this, right? Using the data that's captured somewhere behind the scenes in a SQL database or whatever, Excel, who knows where they're keeping it, and then it publishes it into this kind of format. Again, making data that's arcane and with limited use and applicability much more broadly available and able to impact both business results and have an impact on culture and society. This is one of my favorite companies too, Next IT. So this is a company that builds conversational AI-powered virtual assistants and enterprise chatbots. And again, they build them for a range of companies across different verticals. Alaska Airlines is a big client to help with customer service. Charter Communications, a large cable provider in the U.S., communications company, really. And even the U.S. Army is using these kinds of um, AI-enabled chatbots to help interaction with their users and customers. Transmetrics is one of the largest logistics companies in the world, and they're using AI tools for predictive optimization. Their SVP says Transmetrics cleans data and makes it usable to create unexpected benefits for our dispatchers and managers alike. Again, demand forecasting, predictive optimization, all powered by an AI tool. Ag tech. You may have heard of it. You may have seen it. You may be familiar with it. John Deere, one of the largest manufacturing companies in the United States, is creating high-tech self-driving tractors, right? The guy doesn't have his hands on the wheels, you can see in the picture. This machine features auto steering, but also an app that analyzes the crops and tells them what's going on in their fields. Do these need fertilizer? Do they need watering? Are they being deprived of sunlight? What's the status? One of my favorites, AI and online shopping. So Stitch Fix, a company based in San Francisco, uses AI to deliver customized, personalized clothing. You send them your measurements. They have an app that uses the phone to capture your various measurements, and you send it to them, and then you pick a style that you like, and they send you clothing, and you keep the ones you like, and you send the ones you don't like back. It's quite an innovative model. They're doing very well. Let's think about what's coming. So quantum, obviously, qubits instead of bits and bytes, the ability to leverage quantum mechanics and quantum physics to uh, transform how computing is conducted, if you will, how data is captured and managed and manipulated. So Google is very focused on this, as are other companies. Amazon just announced an offering called Bracket, which provides cloud-based quantum computers that run any of a wide range of qubits, depending on what kind of algorithm you're comfortable with or what kind of problem you're looking to solve. They claim, and I think it's fair to say, that quantum algorithms are going to dramatically accelerate computational tasks for machine learning. They're offering open source frameworks and computing power, as is IBM, and they're working on quantum neural networks specifically designed to work on quantum processors. This is a logo from the Quantum AI lab team, and believe me, they're heads down and focused on it. Maybe you're familiar with quantum supremacy. This is a term that I think Professor at Caltech coined, but the implication is that we're coming to a tipping point where quantum computers will be able to do processes that would be unable to be delivered by a classical computer, right? So in September 20th last year, Google claimed that it had in fact achieved quantum supremacy. They put together a processor on their Sycamore quantum computer. The processor took 200 seconds to sample one instance of the quantum circuit 1,000,000 times, and they're claiming that a state-of-the-art supercomputer today would have required 10,000 years to perform the equivalent task. There's some contention about whether this is in fact quantum supremacy and or if it's been achieved, but certainly it's a milestone in the discussion around quantum and AI. Worth noting that public sector organizations, governments are getting into the act as well. So this is a picture of the Argonne National Laboratory, which is connected to the University of Chicago. And there was a big announcement this summer around the quantum internet. The White House has awarded $760 million over the next 5 years to advance the protocols around quantum and AI. So that's a big number. They're committed. Obviously, IBM, Google, and Intel, other big companies are going to help. Universities are going to play a role as well. But similar activities going on in China. There are quantum initiatives focused on AI in Europe as well. It's a burgeoning field. So this is a quote I think it's worth sharing from the Harvard Business Review a couple of years ago. They say that over the next decade, AI won't replace managers, but managers who use AI will replace those who don't. So I leave you with those words of wisdom from the Harvard Business Review, and I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. Please feel free to reach for me. Let's get connected. I'm on LinkedIn. I always accept connection invitations. You can email me, chris@improvisingcareers.com. You can follow me on Twitter. I have a website where I describe my nonlinear multimodal career path and the workshops that I run at universities called How to Succeed at Jobs That Don't Exist Yet. So thanks again for your time, and let's be in touch. Take care.